everybody, welcome back to Crime on the Record. I am Candace, and today we actually have Jason with us, so you get us both.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome back
But
to me.
with that being said, this is pretty much your episode here because you wrote this up and I don't know anything about it.
It is, and this is where the haha funny is going to end. Because, this is a very shocking story. The murder was caught on camera, and there's some other details that kind of make it so tragic and horrific. But in February of 2016, while walking down a busy street, a man was murdered. Now, the heinous act, like I said, was caught on video surveillance. Sketches went out to the public of what they think the attackers look like. So even though there was witnesses, there was video showing the attack. It's been 8 years and the murder is still unsolved.
Oh my gosh, that is nuts to think they would have video and still. Well, but then again, look at the Delphi case. They had video of someone for all this time, and that's horrible.
Yeah, and we're gonna watch the video. It's a little hard to watch. It's kind of grainy, so it's not like super graphic. But as we talk about the story and we see that, we're gonna, it's rough to watch.
If you're listening to this on the podcast, because we have this on the YouTube channel and our podcast. So if you're listening on the podcast, I'm going to try to upload this video to the website, but I don't know if videos load in the same way the other files do. So if not, the episode will be out on YouTube for you to go to that and watch the video there.
Yeah, and I can put the link to the video because there's tons of them out there. But I can put the link to the video in the show notes on the podcast episode.
Okay.
So if we can't get it up on the site, we can do that. But let's go ahead and get started. So Paul Tam, he was a 44-year-old website manager at Manchester University in the United Kingdom. He was in California visiting his family on February 18th in 2016. It's about 8:30 at night, and he was walking down Post Street in San Francisco with his niece when they were confronted by an unknown male and an unknown female. Now, the attackers, they were attempting to steal the bag that was on his shoulder. And Tam's niece, luckily, was not physically harmed, but she was there for the entire attack, and she did see it happening. So there's definitely some emotional and psychological trauma that's there.
Yeah.
So the guy, the person came up to Tam, and you could see him struggling, and then Tam ran out into the middle of the street. He was trying to get away from this guy, obviously. The guy followed him into the middle of the street, and he's running around a car trying to get away from this guy. But unfortunately, the attacker, he was right there on top of him, and he eventually tackled him to the ground. And there's cars driving past this the entire time, like several cars. And you'll see in the video, it's not like it's some abandoned alley at 2 a.m. It's 8:30 in the evening in downtown San Francisco.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. So you see the two, they're struggling in the street. Tam is trying to hold on to his bag. And as the struggle is continuing, in clear view of pedestrians and drivers, this guy stabs Paul Tam in the head and then took his bag and ran away.
Wow.
And so in the middle of the street, he's bleeding profusely. He's trying to get back to his feet, and you'll see in the video he just can't. And eventually he collapsed in the middle of the road. EMS arrives, and they rush Tam to General Hospital, where he would stay there for almost a month. So the attack happened on February 16th, and on May 24th, he unfortunately succumbed to his injuries. So, like sitting in a hospital for almost a month.
Yeah.
Now, like for the family, you got to wonder, like, what are they thinking? Are they hoping he's going to make it? And there wasn't a lot out there on, was he on a ventilator? Was he, considered brain dead? Was he? It didn't have anything like that. So I'm just curious, like what the family was doing during all this time.
I know
Visiting.
for my family, when my grandmother passed, she collapsed one day. She had had an aneurysm burst, and she was there for weeks and weeks in the hospital. And I mean, in fact, she was there for so long that they transferred her to a different hospital. So I think that, like for us and for a lot of people, the longer you're there, the more you're thinking, well, they've made it this long.
Right. Yeah.
Clearly they're getting better. That's kind of what you think. And then one day they don't wake up at all. And I can't even imagine.
And what's sad is some reports or some articles out there say that he was living in California. Others say he was visiting family in California. But either way, it's like he comes to America, whether it's visiting or to work, and this is what happens to him. And I mean, it's not uncommon, unfortunately, because just a few days ago there was a tourist that was in, I believe it was Virginia, and she was murdered right in front of her husband in broad daylight. I mean, they did catch the person that did that because I mean he was right there when it happened. But it's like you can't even come to this country on a vacation without potentially being, victims of violence. It just kind of shows how out of control this we really are getting when it comes to violence. It's rough. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, we want to go overseas, but I mean, is that kind of stuff going to happen to us? I mean, it's just
It's
wild to think.
I think the wildest part too is for it to be in public. Like, it's not like he was on some dark alley after coming out of a club at 3 a.m. I mean, this was a
Right.
public street.
Just
And a
walking down
man
the
and
street.
a woman?
Yeah,
Wow.
the man was the one that was aggressive, obviously, and we'll see in the video in just a second. But yeah, it was a man and a woman, and like I said, police has sketches, right, and they're pretty detailed. So if that's truly what they look like, it's surprising to me that nobody's been able to come forward and say that's who it is. But I'm gonna go ahead and show the video. Like I said, it's grainy, so you can't see detail, but it is still hard to watch. And if you're listening on a podcast, we're gonna like I said, you can go to our site and get it, or it'll be in the show notes. But there's no audio to it, so it's gonna be a little quiet here for a second while you're watching or listening, whichever one it may be. Let me go ahead and play this. So you can see him at the bottom, starting to struggle.
Oh, goodness. Oh, wow. A car even stops in the middle of the street.
Mm-hmm. I believe that's where
Oh,
he stabs him,
goodness.
rips his bag away, and then runs away.
Wow.
And then, I mean, he's just laying there.
Yeah.
We're going to show it one more time. And I may pause it a few times here. I mean, you can just see him there. I mean, you'll catch a glimpse of him right here in the bottom right corner. Like I said, there's a car starting to turn. They're trying to turn right. There's another one coming down the street. And then this is where they get into the altercation. And I mean, another car coming down the street. This one has to stop. And then he does. He tries to run around and he gets tackled there. And I believe that's where he gets stabbed. And you can see him trying to get up. Like,
Yeah.
because part of him's going to be like, I need to get up and get out of the street. I need to check on myself. But also, he's got to be thinking about his niece that's sitting over there on
Oh,
the sidewalk
gosh.
watching all this happen. And as he's struggling, here's another car. Doesn't
And they
even
just
slow
go
down.
around him.
Doesn't even slow down.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's
But you
hard
know
to
what,
watch.
though? This is why I tell you, I know we disagree on whether or not you stop to help somebody. I mean, seeing that is kind of why I might get involved. Like, I feel like I would have hit the dude. I would have been like, no, I'm not going to watch you chase somebody down the street with a knife.
Yeah. And I mean, I will never stop for somebody on the side of the road. Like if their car is broken down or anything, I'm not stopping. I'm just
Yeah.
never doing it because like it may not happen that often, but there are times where people will pretend to be, in a car that's disabled on the side of the road, and then you show up to help and they either rob you or kill you or whatever. And it
Yeah.
may not happen that often, but if it's happened once, that's enough for me not to stop. But in this situation, I mean, you have a car that probably watched the murder, and then
Yeah.
instead of stopping and checking on anybody or calling, I mean, they may have called 911, but there was no stopping. They just went around him.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that is wild. Like, I'm the guy that will never stop for anybody. Granny on the side of the road, she's got a cell phone. She'll figure it out. But but
Oh,
seriously, but in this situation, I would
yeah.
stop. Like, I would
Yeah.
have stopped. And I mean, like I was saying, it's not like it's a remote section of the city. It's not like it's some back alley. It's not like it's 2 a.m. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a 8:30 in San Francisco. You see people, you see cars, you see everything, and nobody stopped to do anything. Not a thing.
That's horrible. I do see
It,
what you mean now about the video. I mean, you can't really tell anything about, like, anything. I couldn't tell you what race that person even was.
right. Yeah.
I'm sure they blew it up and
Oh
zoned in
yeah.
a little bit better, but I couldn't tell anything.
Yeah, and I'll show the pictures of them in a bit, of what the sketches look like. But and I know they always say that to just it's not worth it. It's not worth to try and keep your stuff. Just give it to the person so they can, they'll just leave you alone, and something like this may not happen. I mean, in his bag, he had important things. I mean, he had his bank card, his cell phone, he had some money in there, and he also had his passport. So I'm sure if you are on vacation and you have your passport, knowing you got to get home and it's in your bag, I mean, you may fight a little bit more. And it doesn't look like the guy walked up to him, was like, hey, showed him a weapon, give me your stuff, because you think he might have given the bag to him a lot faster or at all. Because I mean, he never really gave it to him. The guy just stabbed him and took it. So you just wonder, like, did he walk up, say, hey, I got a weapon or whatever? I don't know. It's just like, just give him your stuff. Just give it to him. So what do we know about the suspect? Not a whole lot. I mean, police, they talked to witnesses. Um, they were able to give enough of a description of the suspects to produce some sketches. And again, if you're listening on a podcast, we'll put these images up on our website, crimeontherecord.com. You can check those out. So these are the suspects. And I mean, like I said, I mean, these are pretty detailed. They're
Yeah.
they're pretty good. So if this is what they actually look like, I mean,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it's very detailed. One of them, a black male, he's in his 30s or 40s, 5'10", with a heavy build. He was last seen wearing a dark hoodie and blue jeans. The other suspect is a black female in her late 20s. She's 5'4", with long dreadlocks or braids that she wears back in a ponytail. I mean, like I said,
Which
these
is
guys just,
odd because they then show it down.
yeah, I mean, yeah. But I guess when you're talking about hair, I mean,
Yeah.
it would be better to show it not in a ponytail, because you can probably guess what it looks like that. But I mean, they're pretty
They are
detailed
so
sketches.
detailed. Who gave the
Really,
sketches?
I'm not sure. It just said some witnesses that were in the area
Gotcha.
provided this. Um, the
Wow.
San Francisco Police Department, there's still a reward out there for $5,000 for any information leading to the arrest of these two suspects. Um, Anyone with information about this incident, they're asked to contact the San Francisco homicide detail at 415-553-1145. If you want to remain anonymous, you can call the San Francisco PD tip line at 415-575-4444, or you can send tips by texting tip 411 with SFPD at the start of the text message. So there's plenty of ways to contact the police. When it comes to this unsolved homicide, like, legit, that's really all there is.
Wow.
There hasn't been any leads, so there's nothing that cops can follow up with. Um, so really, people telling his story and getting the picture of the sketch out there and trying to generate some kind of conversation, discussion, anything to keep these type of cases in the forefront of cops, because I mean, he deserves justice. Like, his 14, I think he was 14, but his niece saw this happen. I mean, so
Yeah.
there's residual trauma that's just continuing. Like I said, I mean, he He was just here. He was just here visiting family. And I mean, he was living in LA at the time, or visiting family in LA mostly. So he had just gone to San Francisco to kind of see his niece and maybe a few other people. So it wasn't even like he was living here. It wasn't like San Francisco was his main place that he was staying. He
Yeah.
just happened to be up there, and this ended up happening. I mean, I think it's important too. This is Paul Tam. I mean, just a normal dude.
Oh,
I mean,
he
just a
looks so
normal guy.
sweet.
He does. He does.
Oh,
And these are the kind of faces that people forget
yeah.
because they just move on with their lives, and there's not enough evidence or enough leads or whatever. I mean, it's just sad. I mean, I know we talk about
Yeah.
a lot of these cases, and they always bother me. Like,
Yeah.
always bother me so much.
Well, yeah, because, everybody else, like, they listen to this episode, or even us, we do the episode, and then, tonight we got to feed our kid. We got to, got to get ready for work tomorrow. I mean, there's just, everyday life starts getting in the way. But for people that lost a loved one like this, it changes their entire life.
Yeah, it does. And it's sad too, because I mean, there's not a lot of details. So it makes this one difficult to solve. But then there's other cases where there's a ton of details. There's all this, all that, and you still can't figure out who did it. Or like when we talk about some other ones, like Susan Osborne and her son Evan Chartrand. I mean, we know what happened. We feel pretty confident we know what happened, but there's still not enough evidence to arrest somebody. So it's just, I don't know if the word's interesting, but it's just, you see these type of cases that are unsolved, and there's various levels of leads, proof, evidence, whatever you want, and they all lead down to the same road of unsolved. It's just,
Yeah,
it's just wild. It's just absolutely wild to me.
it truly is. Well, sadly, like we were saying, that's pretty much it for this, guys. I mean, it's horrible that there's not more information, but hopefully, people, even little podcasts like us, covering this, maybe it at least leads to maybe a bigger podcast or channel doing a show on it. Maybe, at some point, somebody's got to recognize these. I mean, they're such good pictures or
The only thing
renderings.
the only thing I can think is maybe that they're unhoused, so they're constantly moving around, and it may be difficult to kind of catch up with these, with people that are, unhoused, and they just move around a lot, and they don't have daily routines where people would see them in the same spot and be able to put those two things together. That's all I can think, because sketches are good. They're really good.
Yeah, they truly are. Well, thank you guys for joining us on another episode of Crime on the Record. If, again, you want to see pictures, videos, anything, you can visit our website at crimeontherecord.com. We will also have the link to this video in the show notes. Don't forget to follow us on social media while you're there, and follow us here as well, so you will never miss an episode.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, we'll see you.